everybody, and welcome to Ask Our Fairy. I'm very excited because I have my very special friend, Fairy Raine, with me here today. Hello, Fairy Raine.
Hi, Fairy Belle. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to see you from one end of the enchanted forest to the other. This
Oh,
technology.
it is. It's wonderful. It's a little a fresh breath too.
It is, it is. So I have got lots and lots of questions from kids who want to know what it's like to be a fairy. So can you tell me just a little bit about yourself to start off with?
We sure can. I grew up in the outback of Australia and I played with the fairies all of the time. We would run and play and share stories and it would be wonderful. And I didn't really think a lot about it then. But as I grew up and I started learning more things at school and my brain just seemed to be full of words and sums and maths and I forgot about the fairies. And then, but I did keep reading and writing stories because I loved writing and reading. And as a teenager, I did a lot of babysitting and I would share stories with them. And it wasn't until I was an adult when I had a visit from the Fairy Queen when I was visiting South Australia. And she let me know what my job was in the human world. And that was to make sure that children believe in magic and happiness for as long as possible and to help the adults find their way back too. That's when I found out that I was born a fairy, that I really was a fairy.
Oh, that's very exciting. I love that. I love that. I think I am part fairy too.
Oh, I know it.
Yes, I think there's definitely fairy blood in me. So I think we're fairy sisters, which is awesome. So this is my very special book that I write down all of the questions that kids sent me to ask all different people because, Fairy Raine, we're not only having fairies on our show, we're also having lots of special people like authors that I know you are, and illustrators and clowns and comedians and magicians. So it's going to be lots of questions, but I've got some very special questions here that kids have sent in. So let's start with a question from Lucille. Now, this question is, why can't I see the fairies or hear them anymore?
Well, I can answer that one by, that's what I dealt with when I was younger, where our minds are just so full of everything that we're learning, like maths and English and writing and reading and all of those special things to help us get through the world, that we forget to look for the fairies. There are, maybe not that we forget, but we forget how to look for the fairies. And, well, there's a few other reasons as well, that maybe if the bushland has gotten smaller and smaller, that fairy villages have had to move on. And so maybe there's none around you at the moment. I do believe that there is, though, and it's just that they're keeping a bit of a distance, and I'm not sure why, but keep on looking. Keep your eyes open. Look for the glistening of a wing or the glitter of a magic wand, and you never know where you might see them next.
Oh, that's so exciting. So Sophia asks, can you see into the future?
Oh, Sophia, why do you want me to see into the future? Well, I cannot. There are some fairies who do. Now, fairies, when we're born, we're just the same as human children, and fairies need to go to school. So we go to school to learn. We go to kindy, we go to primary school, we go to college, and further our education from there. And, well, some of us go off to be fairy godmothers like me. Some will go off to be able to tell the future for the fairy king and queen. Everyone has a special job. I don't see into the future, though.
Oh, that would be a very special gift, wouldn't it? Goodness.
I don't know. Yes, I think it would be. I
don't think I'd want to know.
No, I'm quite happy where I am.
Me too. But great question, Sophia. Now, Sienna asks, do you use a magic wand to make magic?
Sometimes I do. I love to wave my magic wand and say the rhyming words, magic wand, 1, 2, 3, make some magic just for me. But my magic is in my heart. I like to think that my magic can be spread with a smile. I like to make people feel happy and I like them to share in their games and have fairy hugs and smiles. And I like to think that that's my form of magic.
I agree. You give them very best hugs of anyone I know.
Oh, thank you very much.
Now, Mackenzie wants to know, and this is a bit of a cheeky question, but I think because you're a fairy, I think I would like to know as well. How old are you?
I don't mind talking about my age at all. In fairy time, I'm 575 years old. That makes me old enough to be a fairy godmother. And I don't mind talking about that at all.
Well, that's good because Lena wants to know what sort of fairy are you? I'm a book fairy, so that's what I went to school.
You are.
I'm a book fairy, but you're a different sort of fairy. So what is your job?
I am a fairy godmother. And as I said before, I love to spread magic with smiles and hugs. I also like to make sure that people enjoy their special gatherings and I love to celebrate. So if it's your birthday, I love to be there to spread joy and cheer and play games and things. So I love birthdays. And quite often we would say that in Fairyland, my name, Fairy Raine, so Raine does not mean the same. In fairy words, Raine means happy and smiles and laughter and hugs and all things happy, like birthdays. So in a way, I suppose I'm like a birthday fairy.
That's exciting. So we talked about this a little bit with all the fairies having different jobs, but Phoebe wants to know, how many fairies are there in the world?
Oh, Phoebe, there's hundreds and thousands of fairies. They're all around the world. There's little pockets in all the continents. There's forests that they might hide. There's some houses that they can dwell in too. Some fairies are tiny like an ant. Other fairies are the size of your thumb. And other fairies are the size of you and me. With a little bit of magic, a fairy can change their size. And fairies can be any size at all. And yes, there's many, many, many fairies. And you've got two right here, Fairy Raine and Fairy Belle in human size.
Does that mean that maybe there's fairies walking around among us and we don't even know?
Yes, there is. Take a look at their eyes and see if you can see the glistening sparkle of glitter. Can you see their ears? Sometimes they're pointy. There's something special about the feeling if you walk past someone in the shopping centre, say for instance, and you get a funny feeling and you feel happy. Well, maybe that was the puff of fairy dust that she was leaving behind her trail, and you didn't know it, but she was a fairy. There's not just girl fairies though. There are boy fairies. And you know what boy fairies are called?
What?
They are called fairies, of course. It doesn't matter. We're all fairies, one and a kind.
So do you have lots of different fairy friends or any other special magical creature friends?
Oh, I do have many. I have lots. Book fairies like you, Fairy Belle. There's let me think of one. Purpleina. Guess what colour her favourite colour is?
Purple? That's my favourite colour too.
There's fairies in all corners of the world. Yes, I've been to visit some. I do see a lot here. I often get asked, do I live in Fairyland? I've chosen to live here in the human world, so I live down Fairy Lane. And that's where I make sure that if anyone needs to come and escape, my gardens are a safe place for fairies and my studio is full of little homes that they might come and feel safe to dwell in.
That's so lovely.
It's just like that. And in my studio, there's lots of little nooks and crannies where I've created different things to help me write my stories. Even in baskets, we've got a sleeping fairy in a bed I made.
Oh.
And that's the beginning of a story. There might be, oh, look at this one. This one has a story that I'm writing at the moment. It's called Watermelon World. And as you can see, there's lots of watermelon there. And here is a banquet fit for the Fairy Queen, just to remind me that once a year when I visit Fairyland, to visit the Fairy Queen on her birthday, along with all the other fairies, we get to dance and dance and dance all night long till the sun comes up in the morning and you are tucked up in your bed sleeping. The fairies will be at the bottom of the garden dancing round and round and round. I love it. It's the best.
I love dancing. I love dancing, and I love dancing with my fairy friends. So that is so much fun. So, what's the best part about being a fairy?
No, I love to make people happy. I love to see smiles on faces of the adults as well as children. The best part is that I get to share in special celebrations and write little stories for people and finish with a fairy hug if we can. Yeah.
So there's been lots of very strange things happening in the world at the moment, and sometimes that can feel a little bit scary and a little bit strange. And I know that we're not the type of fairies who can change anything with what's happening in the world. But if you were one of those fairies, what would you change?
What would I change? Well, I would like to take the time to help humans understand the importance of just slowing down a little bit, to be mindful of one another, to be kind, to smile, and to take time to spend with your family and friends when you can, but also to take care of nature. The simple things in life, that's what's important to me.
That's beautiful, Fairy Raine. And now if we have got some more questions that kids haven't sent in yet, what I might get them to do is I might get them to pop it down in the comments below, and then we will let you know, and we will get you to answer any other questions that we haven't answered today from the kids. And if you want to give Fairy Raine a fairy hug, you can like this video, and then we can convert that into fairy hugs, because Fairy Raine does love fairy hugs a lot. And also, if you want to see some more videos where we ask lots of different people, you might like to hit the subscribe button as well. But Fairy Raine, if somebody wanted to talk to you about maybe coming to share your fairy love at their birthday party, or if they wanted you to do a shout out for them, is there a way that they can get in contact with you?
There certainly is. You could send me an email to fairyraine@live.com. FAIRYRAINE @live.com.
That's wonderful, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of kids watching today who would love to talk to you and maybe ask you a question that they might have been a little bit embarrassed to ask in front of everybody. But I wanted to thank you very much for taking this time to answer the questions, and I think the kids have learned a lot about what it's like to be a fairy, your very special job of being a fairy godmother, and also about taking time to look around you and feel maybe there might be a fairy who's walking past, but to stop and look in nature and see if there's any signs of fairies in our yard. So thank you so much, Fairy Raine, and I hope that we can catch up another time and you can answer some more questions for the kids.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for popping by. It was lovely to see you, Fairy Belle. Thank you.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.